Alrighty, you saw the title, you get the gist. I'm attempting to 100% Stardew Valley without using the wiki. This video is the third and final part of this series, so if you haven't seen the first two videos, I highly recommend you watch parts 1 and 2, which will be linked in the description. I just thought I'd let you know that I am using a handful of mods, none of which significantly alter the vanilla Stardew Valley experience, but all of which will be linked in the description if you want to check them out. And like always, this video is sponsored by me, so it won't have any mineral ads. If you want to support the channel in return, hitting that subscribe button and enabling notifications really helps out, considering that less than 11% of people who watch my videos actually subscribe. Smashing that like button also lets me know that you want to see more Stardew Valley content. If you want to help out with the engagement metrics, leave a comment letting me know who is the worst Stardew Valley NPC and why. Alright, let's get back to Stardew Valley. I kick off year 3 on day 225 by chatting with everyone's favorite witch wife, 𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷, then looking over all the items, artifacts, and recipes I need to make to perfect this game. I then took the advice of 𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷 and visited Grandpa's shrine to grab the Statue of Perfection, which will give me 2 to 8 pieces of iridium ore per day. I then got the big field prepped for seeds and then stopped into the coop to say hello to my birds, rabbits, and lizards. I went ahead and sold away some stuff for the shipping list, and then went over to Pierre's to purchase some springtime seeds. I got some trees planted in the greenhouse, then went to sow some seeds in the field and get them watered. I spent the evening cleaning up some of the farm, then ran to bed and watched some money come in. Even though I shipped a bunch of stuff yesterday, I've still got quite a lot of items to get sold away before getting even close to perfection. I then got day 226 started in earnest by collecting some iridium and male fish from Linus. Over in the large animal pen, I collect some produce from my sheep and cows and get some rice planted near the lake. I got a whole bunch of potato seeds from Pierre's and spent the rest of the day sowing them in the field and getting them watered. To start off day 227, I finally moved into the bedroom instead of sleeping in the living room like some peasant, and then I decided to knock out some crafting recipes by making a whole bunch of stuff and getting it placed near the fruit bat cave. After that, I made even more crafting recipes before picking up a request for a diamond from Alex and another request from Pam for some potato vodka. Although I never used it, I just had to purchase the cellar upgrade from Robin, then gave Linus some seaweed that he requested a long time ago. I went over to the mines and purchased a couple recipes from the dwarf and collected a clam down at the beach. For the first time in year 3, I made my way to Ginger Island, found myself a golden walnut and a Shelly stone, then finished the day off by harvesting some ancient fruit. Since I have a lot of friends to make, I took up Oni Vicky on her suggestion to put down a chest filled with favorite gifts for the village NPCs. But I took it one step further by putting a chest down in front of every house, so it's harder for me to forget. Today is Ken's birthday, so I gave him a rabbit's foot and saw my friendship almost triple. And then I accepted another request from Shane. I completed Alex's request for 1 diamond, then ran into Abigail and Caroline in a shouting match. What I really came here for are more potato seeds, so I get those and plant them since I didn't buy enough yesterday. That afternoon, I teleported over to the desert where I dug up a singular treasure spot, which yielded the final artifact I needed to complete the museum, the golden relic. Obviously, I took the bus straight back home and beelined it to Gunther's place of employment to submit my final artifact and unlock the complete collection achievement. Along with accomplishing that milestone, I also got another star drop for my troubles. I went to give Elliot a gift, but instead ran into him complaining about how hard it is to be a writer and that he instead should become a farmer like me. But when I offer him the opportunity to come be my ranch hand, he doesn't seem like it's a good idea now. I finished off day 228 by comforting another insecure man by letting Alex know that he has value, even if he doesn't become a professional athlete. I started off day 229 by receiving the crispy bass recipe from Kent in the mail, then harvesting some ripened parsnips and carrots. I then gave Robin some goat cheese, which maxed out her friendship bar, and then while walking around town, I decided to take some selfies with Haley at Marnie's ranch. Ultimately, I think Haley proved that she's more suited to city life than living on a farm. I spent the afternoon hanging out with Leah. First, she told me about her stinky, poopy ex-boyfriend back in the city, and then I helped her grab some fruit from this large tree by letting her get on my shoulders. To finish the day off, I completed Shane's request for that singular sandfish down at the bar. My brand new cellar has finally been completed to start off day 230, I don't think I used it a single time during this playthrough, but it's nice to have, I suppose. Shane sent me his recipe for pepper poppers in the mail, and I popped open some golden mystery boxes at Clint's that resulted in my first ever auto-penner, a 0.5% chance drop. I went over to Pierre's to grab some more potatoes, then remembered I had some secret notes that I needed to do. This one has me start in the middle of town and do a series of movements. For those of you asking how I knew what to do here, I actually played some Stardew on a separate save on stream, and some really nice commenters pointed out that I need to use the arrows as directions until I hit something. Anyways, the nice man in the truck next to the movie theater wanted a rabbit's foot, and I have plenty of those, so I exchanged one for a brand new passive buff, the Special Charm, which permanently increases my luck stat. That afternoon, I planted some cabbages in the field, then accepted a quest from Clint for 20 iron ore. I spent the rest of my day in the mines farming that, before running home to get into bed, where my wife 𝐷𝐵𝗲𝗏 asked me if I wanted to have a child with her, which is an easy decision to make. I'm back in the fields the morning of day 231, harvesting some potatoes and tulips, then getting that open space repopulated with seeds before harvesting the ancient fruit in the greenhouse. Ancient fruit days are my absolute favorite. Not because it means I'll get a lot of money tomorrow, but because they're almost soothing in their repetitiveness. Unfortunately, the relaxation has to end as Lewis gets himself a birthday's rabbit's foot, and I finally add Willie to my list of best friends with a gold bar gift. Today is the first rainy Ginger Island day of the year, so I finally took a shot at this mermaid note block puzzle. I would love to say that I was able to figure this out without using the wiki, but I can't. It was virtually impossible for me to ascertain what I had to do, and even now, as I'm writing this script, I'm not too sure how to actually complete this puzzle. So I ended the day in defeat in my island bed. As I woke up in tropical paradise on day 232, Lewis mailed me the recipe to eggplant parm, and I got another round of ancient fruit harvested before running over to the walnut room to accept another iteration of the Danger in the Deep quest. With all my key gems, I picked up the magic bait recipe and the key to the town, so now I can go to any building anytime I want. I decided to end my time at the island and gave Elliot the final gift needed to reach max hearts with him, then accepted Caroline's Island Ingredients quest. I got some more potatoes harvested in the big field, and then ran over to the barn where an ostrich has just joined the family. Her name shall be Lancaster II. I popped a lucky lunch and then spent the remainder of day 232 in the mines, progressing the Danger in the Deep quest. I got all the way to level 25, but my real reward for the day was this parrot egg trinket that dropped at the max level 4, which is super rare. I began day 233 in the coop, picking up some more rabbit's feet, and then ran into Kent getting PTSD from his wife cooking popcorn on the stove. I made my way to Ginger Island, where I planted some taro tubes, hung out with Leo, and watched the beautiful ocean waves fold into themselves. After that, I ran into this dude Fizz in the mushroom cave. This totally not shady individual is selling perfection waivers for 500k apiece, for 1% towards perfection. I think it's safe to say that I will not be taking part in this scam. But what I really came here for was dragon teeth. But unfortunately, I couldn't find many. What I did find though was the final journal scrap that details combining rings. I already knew how to do that, so I just needed to finish out this section of the 100% to finish off the day. I harvested some straggler ancient fruits and planted even more taro to start day 234. I then returned to Pelican Town to give Vincent a rabbit's foot for his birthday, and I've been slacking on the Dangers in the Deep quest, so I spent the majority of this day in the mines, making it all the way down to floor 40, before finishing this short day by collecting some oak resin at the train station. I did my annual checkup at Harvey's clinic on day 235, before accepting another request for Alex. I gave Leah a gift that officially added her name to my list of best friends, and added Lewis to that list soon after. The potato vodka I put in the kegs is finally ready for collection, and I helped Penny clean up the house before dropping those delicious spirits off for Pam. After that, I was told the harrowing tale of why George is in a wheelchair, so I can definitely understand why he's a bit of a grump in his old age. I finished the day off by crafting some magic bait, then heading back to Ginger Island in a futile attempt to catch an octopus. Leah is soliciting attendees for her art show at my front door to start day 236. I may or may not show up to that, like how these green beanstalks may or may not stay in the big field. I completed another Alex request for some ripe kale before giving Marnie a rabbit's foot. That gift was so close to sending her to best friend territory, and just chatting with her did the trick. I then descended back into the mines to make more progress on the Danger in the Deep quest, and made it all the way down to floor 65 before calling it a day. As I slept peacefully, my wife's ex-girlfriend put a curse on my slimes, so I started day 237, checking out what happened. I guess all my slimes are just black now. With that being said, today is the Egg Festival, so I harvested my ripe potatoes, then purchased a butt-ton of strawberry seeds before taking back my crown as the Egg King. Apparently, the egg hunt takes 12 hours, so I only had time left in the evening to plant my strawberries and hit the sack. But another evening of rest was interrupted, this time by a strange sound. Day 238 is the final day for me to complete the Danger in the Deep quest, so I started it by exchanging a bunch of jade at the Desert Trader for staircases. I drove myself back home and collected all of the ancient fruit wine that is freshly made, then utilized my newly purchased staircases to get down to level 120 and complete Key's quest. I gave Clint a gift that saw him reach 10 out of 10 friendship, and saw me get the Beloved Farmer achievement. While I was here, I decided to crack open some golden mystery boxes and got another auto petter, which is amazing luck. And down in the sewers, I purchased the Wicked statue recipe from 𝐕𝐲𝐵𝗲𝗃. After that, I attended Leah's art show and got a look at her no-good ex-boyfriend, and then I placed down those auto petters in the coop, accepted a request from Lewis for some seaweed, and then spent the remainder of the day in the volcano dungeon looking for dragon teeth. I've got another ancient fruit harvest to start day 239, and all those key gems I got for completing the most recent quest got spent on the heavy tapper recipe and the deluxe fertilizer recipe. I did some fishing with magic bait on Ginger Island looking for the octopus, but I guess luck isn't in my favor today. Today is the beginning of the Calico Desert Festival, but I honestly don't have much to gain from participating this year, so instead I just went back to the magic bait fishing where I caught myself a Dorado, leaving only the octopus to catch. So I beelined it straight to Ginger Island and finally got one on the line. Unironically, the octopus might be the hardest fish to catch in the entire game, even taking legendary fish into account. It took me about 4 in real life minutes to actually catch this stubborn fish, but I did it and I ended day 239 with the Master Angler achievement. For my efforts in catching every fish, Willie gave me the 7th and final star drop in the mail to start day 240, resulting in the Mystery of Star Drops achievement. I harvested some taro this morning and popped open a couple golden walnuts as well, and then I hit the volcano dungeon to look for some more dragon teeth. But I still don't have the luck required to find any. At least I got this nice little soul sapper ring for my trouble. I've got more taro ready for plucking on day 241, but the frustrating thing is that I'm only a couple taro away from completing Caroline's quest. So I've got to plant some more and wait for them to grow. I get a whole bunch of ancient fruit harvested and then decided to do some exploring where I found a golden trash can near the movie theater. I got myself the final skill book, the Alleyway Buffet, and collected the Well-Read achievement. That evening, I collected some more oak resin for the expansion of my keg empire. I then took up Magic Mutt on their idea to fish outside the spa, where I found an ornate necklace. And then finished the day off by doing some stargazing with Maru. A nice and ready day 242 starts by harvesting some rhubarb and cauliflower, then resowing the area with more strawberry seeds. I crafted 10 more kegs, got them placed down at the quarry, and began filling them up with ancient fruit before running over to 𝐕𝐲𝐵𝗲𝐴's old house to construct my second obelisk, the Earth Obelisk. It's another rainy day on Ginger Island, and I finally decided to pull the trigger on utilizing the Joja Parrot. I know for a fact that there are some golden walnuts I won't be able to find without using the wiki, so sacrificing a small piece of my morality to Morris and 𝐿𝐿𝐿 is required. As I went to sleep that night, a vision of Morris relaxing with a couple sacks filled to the brim with cash haunted my dreams. It may not have been honorable, but I can finally construct the obelisk on the island farm to start day 243. And I also got a handful of new recipes from Kent and Sandy in the mail. It's been a while since I've checked my perfection progress, and it looks like I've made a 24% dent, which is pretty substantial. I still have a long way to go though, specifically in cooking and shipping items. So I teleported back home to continue hammering away at that shipped items list and purchase some cooking supplies from Pierre. I also need to keep working on befriending the other valley dwellers, but I was able to cross Demetrius from that list before running down into the mines to collect some iron. I'm gonna need a whole lot of iron and copper if I'm gonna craft enough kegs to get that golden clock. And while I was down here, I decided to enable the hard mode shrine to finish off the day. Day 244 is Shane's birthday, so I gave him a rabbit's foot and then ran down to the beach to set up some crab pots. I need a couple more clams for the water obelisk, so hopefully these will bear fruit sooner rather than later. I cracked open some geodes and managed to get the all-important marble from Clint, and then spent the day in the mines killing enemies hoping for a super rare galaxy soul drop. I hit the hay for the day, and 𝐷𝐵𝐷𝐼 decided to pop out my first child, a baby girl I named Raspberry. I know it's spelled wrong, just get off my back, okay? Raspberry is sleeping soundly to start day 245, so I got into the field to scythe down my first harvest of strawberries and get to work on those crafting recipes. I made a whole bunch of stuff, including the heavy tapper, marble brazier, and a handful of rings and fishing accessories, then ran down to floor 40 of the dangerous mines to end the day by killing some bad guys, but more importantly, farming some hardwood for future recipes. The next couple days are pretty short, so let's breeze through them. On day 246, I accepted and completed a request from Willie for 1 silver bar, and spent the day in the volcano dungeon farming some dragon teeth, which I was lucky enough to actually drop today. On day 247, I accepted the Skull Cavern Invasion key quest, and once again spent all day in the volcano dungeon unsuccessfully looking for dragon teeth. Day 248 was the Flower Festival, which I totally forgot to record, so this is a dramatic reenactment that I recorded near for. Just imagine me purchasing the Tub of Flowers recipe here instead of buying decorations. And I also danced with my wife, and we're both not dressed properly whatsoever. I got some meal to start day 249, the spicy eel recipe from George, and then it's off to the field to harvest some more strawberries. Today is Ancient Fruit Day, so I got more kegs made, placed, and filled with soon-to-be wine, and then sailed over to Ginger Island to harvest some more taro and complete Caroline's Island ingredient request. I spent the remainder of the day in the volcano dungeon successfully collecting some dragon teeth, but I ended up passing out a couple feet from my house because I missed my bedtime. Watching all that money roll into my bank account more than made up for sleeping outside in the rain though. Somehow, I woke up in my bed to start day 250, where I was greeted by accomplishing the Big Help achievement. But more important than the achievement and the money I got for completing that request was the recipe for the solar panel that was in my mailbox. I decided to finally get cracking on the cooking recipes today, and made a whole bunch of delicious items. I've had the ingredients for a while, but never took the time to move them into my refrigerator, so it's nice to see that I was able to make a very large amount of recipes in one go. I guess today was Shane's bender day, as not only did I find him passed out in his room, but I also found him passed out near the sewer entrance. My man just really needs some help. I gave Pierre a rabbit's foot for his birthday, and then built the island obelisk since I finally had enough dragon teeth. I used that bad boy for the first time to pick up the banana pudding recipe, then went straight back home to collect some tea leaves. The remainder of the day was spent in level 70 of the mines collecting iron ore and hoping for some galaxy soul drops. Shane was at my front door to start day 251 talking about how he's ready not to be a drunk anymore. Good for you, Shane, good for you, pal. That morning I crafted my first ever solar panel, gave Pam some wine that saw her get up to 10 hearts, and then collected the final clam I needed to purchase the water obelisk, the fourth and final one. Over at Ginger Island, I got a cute cutscene where Leo decided that it was finally time to join everyone at Pelican Town. The rest of the day was spent going through the mines, getting some ores, and hoping for rare drops. But as I decided to call it an evening, some of the island birds came back to Pelican Town and fixed up a tree near Robin's house for Leo to stay in. Day 252 and the final day of spring was the last day for the Skull Cavern Invasion quest, so I exchanged some jade for some staircases and started making my way down the levels. I spent pretty much the entire day down here, and got not one, but 2 auto grabbers at treasure floors. Of course, I made it the 100 levels, and decided to go down an extra 15 for good measure. The morning of day 253, the first day of summer, begins by placing those auto grabbers I got yesterday in the coop and barn. I then planted a whole bunch of summer seeds, and then ran over to Key's walnut room to purchase the hyper speed grow and bluegrass starter recipes. I then exchanged my remaining walnuts for key gems, and spent some time crafting those 2 new recipes along with the tent kit at my workstation. I gave Harvey the final gift needed to get him up to 8 hearts, and then went over to Pierre's where I found his secret stash of what I can only assume are nudie mags. After I watched Harvey and the town ladies do some jazzercise, I went over to Pierre's and purchased 15 of every single summer seed to make sure that I get the polyculture achievement. I finished the day off by getting all those seeds planted in the big field, and then went to do some monster farming in the dangerous mines looking for galaxy soul drops. I started day 254 by making 21 kegs and getting all those placed in the quarry, which is really starting to take shape now. I then warped over to Ginger Island to accept Key's Hungry Challenge and check up on my perfection progress. The last time I checked, it was at 67%, so an extra 10% is some solid movement on that front. I decided to enable the hard mode Skull Cavern and started making my way down the floors. I was able to complete Key's Hungry quest in one trip and made it all the way down to floor 131 before I had to call it a day. I created some fairy dust to start off day 255, then warped over to Ginger Island and Key's Walnut Room to purchase the final recipe I needed, the Hopper recipe, for 50 key gems. Now, I still have a lot of recipes I need to make, but it's nice to know that I don't need to purchase anymore as I craft a treasure totem. The rest of day 255 is spent in the dangerous Skull Caverns farming key gems, since I still want to buy the Horse Flute, Junimo Chest, and Stock List. I start a rainy day 256 by collecting some oak resin at the train station, then I give Jazz a birthday present, the final gift needed to get her up to max friendship. If I'm gonna craft that Statue of Blessings, I'm gonna need a lot of fiber, so I cut down some wild grass, then craft another 32 kegs before harvesting some ancient fruit at Ginger Island. Some would consider that having almost 400 kegs would constitute a, quote, problem, unquote, but I'm not one of those people. My auto grabber is doing wonders for me as I start day 257, and I finally planted those mango trees in the greenhouse. In hindsight, I really should have done this sooner. I then went ahead and made a ton of new cooking recipes. Another thing I should have done is just hold off on making anything until I had all the ingredients for every single recipe and just made them all in one go. That probably would have been more satisfying. Anyways, I got a couple of very cute and silly cutscenes today. The first was a very sweet moment between Shane and Jazz where he got her some bunny jewel slippers. And then I helped Shane, Clint, and Emily film a video for a JoJo-Cola contest. Clint ended up turning blue like Paul Giamatti from The Big Fat Liar, starring Frankie Muniz and Amanda Bynes. That's gonna really age me. I really hope you guys get that reference. The final cutscene I got today was watching Sam hit a sick-ass 50-50 grind and then crash into Lewis. Over at Pierre's, I gave Jody a gift and then had a brief chat with her to get her to 10 out of 10 hearts before dropping off some more stuff for the shipping list. I then spent the remainder of the day in the mines collecting radioactive and iron ore, and I got this neat mannequin and gave him some pirate attire. Raspberry can finally stand up in her crib on day 258, so I played Catch the Baby, then went out to collect my mail, which had the strange bun recipe from Shane. I whipped that up real quick in the kitchen, then collected all my barn produce from the auto grabber, before spending the rest of the day in the mines again, where I got an auto petter drop, so that's pretty neat too. Pam sent me some mail beer in the morning on day 259, so I threw that in the shipping bin and cleared out my fruit bat cave, before doing some magic bait fishing looking for a midnight carp for the sea foam pudding recipe. Apparently, I don't know how to play catch, as shown by my lack of athleticism with Alex. I then did some more magic bait fishing down by the dock, catching some sardines for some other recipes, and then I was over to the traveling trader, who had some mead and jelly on the books. I scooped those two items up and shipped them away for the shipping list, and then cooked some banana pudding. I spent the remainder of my day doing some unsuccessful fishing by the lake, and then doing more iron farming. A bunch of summer crops are ready for harvest the morning of day 260, namely the poppy flower, so I can finally make that poppy seed muffin recipe. I then ran over to Key's Walnut Room to pick up yet another quest, and then ran back to Pierre's to give Gus a birthday gift which saw him added to my best friends list. I then bought 2 flower seeds to eventually use for the tub of flowers recipe, and I popped a spicy eel and spent the remainder of the day going through the dangerous mines where I found myself a galaxy soul. I utilized some staircases to get down to level 25, where I decided to call it a day. Thanks to being best friends with Gus, I got the cranberry sauce recipe to start day 261, and then went into the field to harvest some hot peppers to make the pepper poppers recipe. That afternoon, I decided to crack open some golden mystery boxes with Clint, and then spent another day traversing through the dangerous mines. My red cabbages are ready for harvest the morning of day 262, so I utilized those to make all the recipes requiring red cabbage in the kitchen before running over to Robin's to give Maru a birthday gift. I had a chat with Sebastian about what he does in the basement all day, and then got electrocuted by Maru's robot. I finished up this day by getting all the way to floor 80 in the dangerous mines. Day 263 is the Stardew Luau, but I've got some crops to harvest at Ginger Island that need to get whipped into a couple recipes before heading down to the beach. This year, I decided to put an iridium truffle into the pot. High quality truffles are used in all kinds of fancy dishes, so I thought it wasn't a bad idea. and the governor seems to agree with that, as I got myself the unforgettable soup achievement as our purple-clad friend enjoyed his meal. Since every festival in this town takes about half a day, I had to utilize some speed buffs if I was going to collect all the wine before 2 a.m. Sam woke me up on day 264 to come to see his concert, but sorry Sam, I can't think about that right now. I've got tomatoes ready for harvest. There's just so many recipes that require tomatoes that I was super excited to get those ingredients and whip up just a ludicrous amount of tomato-based dishes. I spent the morning collecting some oak resin, turning grapes into raisins in the dehydrator, and kegging some ancient fruit at the quarry before spending the remainder of my day in the mines progressing through the floors. I've got myself a mega melon to start day 265, and speaking of mega melons, I may or may not have been sneaking a peek at Alex getting his pump in. All those torn muscle fibers need fuel to repair, so I gave Alex a gift of food that brought him up to 8 hearts. Another session of progressing through the mines netted me this fun party hat, and I finished the day off by watching a fairy bless some of my crops. A whole bunch of blueberries are ready for plucking to start day 266, and with those I can craft 3 more recipes in the kitchen. After a grueling couple of days, I was finally able to make it all the way to floor 120 in the dangerous mines and reward myself with Pierre's missing stock list. I also had enough iron to craft an anvil, a cool new machine that you can use with iridium bars and trinkets to re-roll their level. To blow off some steam, I met up with my friends at the bus station, where we all went off to Zuzu City to watch Sam, Abigail, and Sebastian rock out. Back at Pelican Town, I gave Pierre the missing stock list, and now he can sell seeds from every single season regardless of what time of year it is. And now I would like to welcome you to a portion of this video I'd like to call the Best Friend Palooza. I gave gifts to a bunch of people today, all of which were added to my list of best friends. So I can now cross Pierre, Evelyn, Kent, Vincent, and Shane off the list of people that I need to think about. I totally forgot to record day 267, so this is a dramatic reenactment. It was a green rain day, so I really only did 2 things. Farmed fiber for the Statue of Blessings, and sell some pale ale for the shipping list. Since Pierre now sells every seed year-round, I spent the morning of day 268 buying seeds that I'm gonna need for recipes, and getting those planted at the Ginger Island farm. I picked up the 𝐋𝐢𝐧𝐤𝐬 challenge once again, crafted the tub of flowers recipe, and then spent the remainder of the day doing some magic bait fishing, looking for an eel and sardine. I did manage to catch sardine, and I finished the day up by crafting the dish of the sea recipe. I had some dried mushrooms ready to be shipped off on day 269, and then I ran into Sebastian working on his motorcycle. I purchased some oil of garlic from the dwarf, and attended Elliot's slam poetry session at the library, before finally catching that midnight carp and eel that I have been lusting after. Shout out to Magic Bait, it's the best. With those 2 caught, I can finally knock off 2 more recipes for my list, and I finished the day off by collecting some purple mushrooms that I need to dehydrate for the raccoons. Leo sent me the recipe for mango sticky rice the morning of day 270, and then I went to Ginger Island to harvest some ancient fruit. I thinned out some of my tree farm in the desert to make some more kegs that all get dropped down in the quarry and subsequently get filled with ancient fruit to finish the day. I need to sell some pickled veggies for the shipping list, so I accomplished that to start day 271. I then tried some of Penny's cooking, which I really wouldn't recommend to even my worst enemy, and then harvested some garlic at Ginger Island. With that, I crafted some oil of garlic at the workbench and whipped up a farmer's lunch in the kitchen, leaving only 3 more recipes for me to make, one of which I don't even have yet. I spent the afternoon collecting oak resin, re-enabling the hard mode mines, and then farming fibers on the early floors for the Statue of Blessings. Day 272 picks up right where 271 left off, farming for fiber, this time in the sewer dungeon. But that should be the last time I have to do this, since I finally have enough fiber to craft the elusive Statue of Blessings. I got it placed down next to my other statues and got my first ever buff, the Blessing of Friendship, that is amazingly convenient. Thanks to that buff, I have a new best friend in 𝐷𝐵𝐵. The remainder of day 272 was spent going through the hard mode Skull Cavern, hoping for Galaxy Soul drops. Day 273 is really short. I bought some staircases from the trader and popped a rock candy to complete Key's Hungry Challenge in double fast time so that I could buy myself a Galaxy Soul. On day 274, I have the necessary items to complete another raccoon quest, and then I made my way to Ginger Island to harvest and sell off some broccoli and artichokes. I grabbed another Key's Hungry Challenge quest, crafted some artichoke dip in the kitchen, and then finally befriended Sandy in the desert. I drove myself back to Pelican Town and finished the day off by harvesting some veggies and selling a bunch of stockpiled crops for the polyculture achievement. I made a couple of new friends to start day 275. Penny took a little extra talking to, but George was pretty easy to convince. I bought 15 seeds of a lot of crops from Pierre's, did some mushroom sprite farming looking for coffee beans, and then grabbed 15 more seeds from Sandy, all to be planted in Ginger Island eventually for the polyculture achievement. I made 19 more kegs a day, taking my total to over 400, and I got them placed near the quarry to finish off the day. I start off day 276 with a very cute montage of Leo's new life in Pelican Town. He eats food with Linus, goes to school with some other kids, does some fishing with Willy, and really seems to be enjoying his time surrounded by other people. Touching cutscenes aside, I spent pretty much all of day 276 in the Skull Caverns hoping for Galaxy Soul drops. Most of day 277 was spent doing an ancient wine run, harvesting the fruits on Ginger Island, making more kegs, and then going down to the quarry to place the kegs, collect the wine, and replace the fruits. I did spend that evening though re-rolling my fairy box trinket until I got the elusive level 5 fairy, which comes in handy when you're doing dangerous Skull Cavern runs. Speaking of the devil, I did one of those runs and got some key gems in order to buy the third Galaxy Soul I needed to turn my normal Galaxy Sword into one of the most powerful weapons in the game, the Infinity Blade, unlocking the Infinite Power achievement. Just take a look at those stats. The crazy thing is that they can get even better by doing some forging, so I added 3 rubies to my Infinity Sword, increasing its damage by 30% to end the day. Leo's birthday headlines day 278, so I have another best friend after giving him a present. I spent most of day 278 in the Skull Cavern testing out the synergy between my level 5 fairy box and Infinity Blade. These two are a really solid combo, but it's not like you can just go into every fight willy-nilly, which is perfectly exemplified by me dying to these hard mode mega serpents. On the bright side, I didn't lose any items, which is pretty nice. After Harvey patched me up, I caught him being a playing nerd, so that's fun for him, and then decided to utilize some prismatic shards to get dripped up to finish the day. I started day 279 by cracking open some artifact troves with Clint since I really didn't have anything better to do, and then I invited Sebastian to the movies since he's the only person I have yet to befriend. The final day of summer, day 280, begins by purchasing some staircases from the Desert Trader and finishing Key's Hungry Challenge. I then went to go hang out with Sebastian and Sam, where we played a Dungeons & Dragons-esque card game, and I was able to finish the scenario with a B rating, which isn't too bad for my first time if you ask me. I put a cap on the last day of summer by foolishly preparing the crop fields without remembering that they reset at the beginning of the season anyways. The first day of autumn, day 281, begins by prepping the big field for a very small fall crop. I eventually get it filled in with pumpkins, but I planted 15 of each fall crop seed to start the season and make sure I had enough to ship off for the polyculture achievement. Speaking of polyculture, my red cabbages are ready for harvest at the island farm, and it's been a while since I checked my perfection progress, and I'm only 12% away from being done. You could probably make that 11% after I gave the dwarf a gift and chatted with them to reach 10 out of 10 hearts. Another achievement I need to make progress on is the Good Neighbors achievement, and the raccoons have another quest for me. Pumpkin juice is easy since I have plenty of kegs, pumpkins, and fairy dust, but the pickled bok choy will take some time since I have to purchase some seeds to start a very short day 282. The only thing of note I did today was get those bok choy seeds planted and get one of them equipped with some hyperspeed grow because, I'm impatient. It looks like Shane has finally decided to get his shit together on day 283 and is enjoying life as a chicken rancher. But I'm a wine rancher at heart, so I'm gonna need more oak resin and wood if I'm gonna get that golden clock anytime soon. 39 kegs crafted later, I finally finished my snaking keg farm at the quarry. So I expanded my wine production to a second location, the road leading to the tunnel. I'm nothing if not a responsible lumberjack, so I spent the remainder of day 283 replanting all those pine trees I cut down in the desert. My hyperspeed grown bok choy is ready for pickling on day 284, and some fairy dust expedites that process for me. I get that dropped off with the raccoons and head over to Ginger Island to harvest some ancient fruit. With the amount of kegs I have, I pretty much have to spend an entire day collecting wine and kegging fruit. But it's worth the time investment, as I get a whole bunch of wine and leftover ancient fruit sold away, and watch as over 2 million G hits my bank account overnight. Fair warning, autumn is a super short season content-wise. I was really focusing on accomplishing specific goals, so there are only a couple of highlights for each day. For example, day 285 was spent collecting some mangoes that are finally ripe, getting one sold off for the shipping list, and utilizing one of them to make the mango sticky rice recipe. On day 286, I learned that mango was the last thing I needed to ship off to get the full shipment achievement. So I celebrated by placing some speed grow on my other crops and clearing out the fruit bat cave, which has become overpopulated. I then ended the day by seeing a little cutscene where Penny, Vincent, and Jas are having a picnic, and Vincent spilled the beans on Penny and Sam's dalliances, much to Penny's chagrin. My beets and kale are ready for harvest to start day 287, so I get those chopped down and then ran over to Robin's house to give Sebastian the final gift needed to get him up to max friendship. Fun fact, he was the last NPC I needed to befriend, so I ended day 287 with all 34 NPCs as my best friends. My amaranth was ready for harvest on day 288, so I got that side down and spent the day in the desert replanting pine trees and doing a dive into the Skull Cavern, hoping for some galaxy soul drops. My yams were ready for plucking on day 289, and I finally decided to listen to the advice of some commenters Toph, Kenro, and Andrew on what I need to do in the slime hutch. I painstakingly crafted this little wall and gate and added an iridium sprinkler to water these 4 boxes. So hopefully the slimes can start producing some stuff. That afternoon, I hung out with my wife at the beach and purchased the final cooking recipe, tropical curry. I can't tell you how many days I had to wait for Gus to just go to the Ginger Island beach and sell this thing. I was so excited that I just ran straight home and cooked it. And I finally finished all the recipes and got the gourmet chef achievement to finish the day. All 15 pieces of rhubarb are ready for harvest on day 290, so I got those sold off, then ran over to the train station to collect more oak resin, which has turned into, you guessed it, more kegs to line the streets leading out of Stardew Valley to end the day. Those 15 rhubarb sold yesterday were the final crop I needed to get the polyculture achievement on day 291. I spent the morning doing what I like to call popping slime zits, and then collected some ancient fruit at the island farm since today's a kegging day. The raccoon family needed 3 ghost fish and a rusty spoon to keep on breeding, so I easily caught those fish and donated them, then ran down to the sewers to change up my professions. It probably isn't necessary this late into the game, but I thought what's the harm in doing so? I ended up changing my mining and combat professions so that I could get more ore per vein and more coal for mining, and just a flat 25% boost in attack and combat. I also made just over 1 million in wine sales, which is pretty nice. The next 4 days were spent almost entirely in the Skull Cavern and Volcano Dungeon. I was attempting to farm key gems from purple slimes and hoping for galaxy soul drops, which I was able to get 2 of them, allowing me to get the Infinity Gavel on day 294, which has some pretty sweet stats. I then exchanged some key gems for the Horse Flute and Junimo chest, and I honestly thought that the Junimo chest would kind of work like an Ender chest in Minecraft, and in some way they do, but unlike Minecraft, it's not like I can just pick out the chest and put it in my inventory. It kind of just has to stay there, which, I mean, now I just have them to have them. I finished the Skull Cavern / Volcano Dungeon Bender on day 295 by getting the Artful perk on my gavel. Day 296 is the day of the Harvest Festival, so I put all my rarest items that I've collected through the almost 300 in-game days into my stall and was able to get 103 points. The only other eventful thing that happened today was Vincent calling me at 11 p.m. asking if I had pigs on my farm. I collected some oak resin on day 297 and crafted more kegs, taking my total up to 538, and got those placed in the tunnel, further expanding my wine empire. It was an ancient fruit day on day 298, so the only highlights of today were harvesting ancient fruit, collecting the readied wine, and replacing the kegs with more fruit. I sold off all the wine and a whole bunch of stockpiled coop and barn produce to make 2.5 million G, which put me over the 10 million G in my account, allowing me to finally purchase the golden clock on day 299. After purchasing that, I did a bit of reorganizing of my obelisk and made a nice little shrine to my achievement to finish off the day. Day 300 and day 301 were spent on farm beautification. I organized my obelisk to flank my little workbench area and decided to consolidate my coop and barn into the same location. It took a lot of time to get my animals just to move out of the way, but I got my buildings placed and added some stone pathways for a little bit of flair. The only highlight of day 302 was hanging out with Sebastian at the pier and replacing the sturgeon with a crimson fish in the pond. A new feature that was added in the 1.69 Stardew update not only brought the 1.6 update to console and mobile, but it also introduced adding legendary fish to fish ponds. So I spent days 303 and 304 adding a mutant carp to where the lava eels previously lived, and started adding more ponds so that I can get all the legendary fish into their special homes. I also thought that the watercolors were just neat and I wanted all of them. On day 305, I harvested the sweet gem berries I've had growing all season, then warped over to Ginger Island to do another round of ancient fruit harvesting. I spent the day collecting all the wine and getting the kegs repopulated, and started building my account back up after spending 10 million G on that clock. On day 306, Clint finally cracked open the rusty spoon I needed for the raccoons, so I got that donated and made my way to the volcano to make one final forge on my infinity gavel. With 2 emeralds and 1 ruby, my gavel now swings at the same speed as the infinity blade, but it has the added ability of smashing stuff quickly with the artful enchantment. I finished the day off at Robin's workshop purchasing the community upgrade to build Penny and Pam a house, and I also went and purchased a whole bunch of upgrades to my house. I added a couple of rooms, a little cubby, and an attic that will be filled to the brim with stuff soon. On day 307, I bought another fish pond and the all-important furniture catalog so that I can get my interior design on. I spent the entirety of day 308, the final day of autumn, in the jungle floors of the dangerous mines farming hardwood and radioactive ore for heavy tappers. The winter season of year 3 is going to be super short, and it begins by buying the shortcut community upgrade, then running down to check out Pam's new house, which I insisted on donating anonymously. I found the crocus that I've been so desperate to get my hands on, and beelined it straight to my workbench to complete my final crafting recipe, Wild Winter Seeds, activating the Craft Master achievement. Just to make certain I achieved perfection, I ran over to Key's walnut room and checked the tracker that now reads 100%. I have officially perfected Stardew Valley, but unfortunately for me, the boulder to the summit is still in place, so I guess I'll just have to go to sleep and finish the day. I woke up on day 310 with the confirmation I've been waiting for. Grandpa is beaming with pride from the great beyond as DuckGoose Farm's legacy has been cemented. I ran dash straight to the summit and crossed the threshold, picking up the perfection achievement and meeting up with 𝐅𝐸𝐿 to look over the frosted peaks of Stardew Valley. As someone who has never reached the summit before, it really is an amazing moment. The fact that I was able to witness this cutscene without utilizing the Stardew Wiki makes it even sweeter. But my journey doesn't end with perfection. If I'm going to 100% Stardew Valley, we're going to need an epilogue. Fast forwarding to day 317, I begin the epilogue by naming my son Rasmussen. With that, I got the Full House achievement. Later that day, I went to go check on the raccoons, who now need some cave carrot juice and pickled snow yam. Lucky for me, I have everything I need to do this. Snow yams, a preserves jar, a cave carrot, and a keg, with fairy dust being the key to the castle. To finish the day off, I gave all those items to the raccoon. 9 days later, on day 326, the raccoons need a diamond and 20 bat wings, and that's pretty easy to accomplish. 10 days after that, the raccoons want some sea urchins and frozen geodes on day 336. Day 337 is the first day of spring in year 4, but what's important today is that my friend Vincent is going to teach me how to harvest wild spring onions without killing the bugs inside them. And now I can sell these veggies for 5 times their original price. This might be useful in year 2 or year 1, but it's not that great for me, but what I really wanted was all the special powers, and I have all those now. On day 338, I bought myself the catalog from Pierre's shop, then ran over to Key's walnut room for the statue of true perfection, which gives me a prismatic shard every single day. The next domino to fall in the epilogue is the Journey of the Prairie King. To 100% Stardew Valley, I need an achievement called Fechter's Challenge. Beat Journey of the Prairie King without a single death. The thing is about this minigame, it's not that easy. Essentially, there are 12 levels, all of which get increasingly more difficult. Enemies increase in number, get faster, and become harder to kill. What you're seeing right now is the first level, and it's honestly pretty easy to get overwhelmed. As you kill enemies, they can drop 2 things, coins and power-ups. Coins can be used after the end of every 2 levels to get a permanent boost in movement speed, fire rate, or damage, and power-ups are used to make combat easier. Now remember how I said that you can't die? I meant ever. There's items where you can get extra lives, but even if you get an extra life and you lose it and you still have 3 lives, which is what you start the game with, it doesn't matter. You might as well just quit out the game and try again. With that being said, the 1.5 Stardew Valley update added a feature that you can save your game. So for example, when I finished level 2 without dying and selected my damage upgrade, I went straight down to level 3 and decided to call it a day and save my game. I can then go back on day 340 or day 341 or whenever and start right where I left off without having lost any lives. That way, if I do ever die, I can just quit the game, and restart that day and get 2 or 3 levels and then save again. I pretty much did this for 10 in-game days, completing a couple levels and saving my game so that if I died, like I did right here, I can just quit out of the game and reload my save. You can call it scummy or whatever the hell you want. I call it doing the best possible strategy to get an achievement that the creator of the game said publicly he shouldn't have included. And I did it. I used a Sheriff's Badge power-up to delete the final boss and got that achievement. If you guys and gals want a more in-depth tutorial or something like that, let me know and I can make it. To celebrate my maiden victory, I purchased the Return Scepter and the Wizard Catalog to finish off day 346. Fast forwarding to day 356, I finally finished this godforsaken raccoon questline. I mean, they're cute and all, but do they really need my help to procreate? Anyways, I grabbed myself the Good Neighbors achievement and finished off pretty much everything. The achievements, shipping list, artifacts, gemstones, caught fish, cooking recipes, crafting recipes, special powers and items, skills and mastery, and every single NPC is at max friendship. Everything is done. But I still have some personal things that I want to cap off. To see everything, we have to fast forward to day 400, starting with giving Caroline that necklace I found so many days back. Secret note number 14 said that there's something hidden behind the community center, so I poked around there and found this cute little 𝐺𝐸𝐸 statue. Secret note number 19 is another one of those movement puzzles, if you want to call it that. Starting off in front of Jody's house, I followed the directions described and ended up behind the mayor's house, where I discovered a solid gold statue of the man in question. Secret note 21 said I need to shake a bush next to this bridge at 12:40 a.m. So I did exactly that and found Marty and Lewis in another romantic rendezvous. A final couple things I wanted to do were strictly personal. I wanted an awesome farm, so I pretty much scrapped absolutely everything you've seen me do and made this. I was inspired by some screenshots I saw online, and I'm a huge fan of how it turned out. Along with an awesome farm is a well-decorated home. Again, I took a lot of inspiration from some other players online, specifically the kitchen area, but I'm very proud of what I was able to create. If you all want a tour of the farm and house and want me to explain the decisions I made or how I did it, leave a comment and I might just do that. And finally, you know your boy had to have the drip, and I mean, you tell me, baby, I'm looking good. Thanks so much for watching my video. 100%ing Stardew Valley was an amazing experience, and I'm so happy I did it without using the wiki. Being able to discover things organically made the experience so much more fun. While I'm sure I could have perfected the game in almost half the time if I did use the wiki, the beauty in the trip is in the journey, not the destination. And I can wholeheartedly recommend playing Stardew Valley like the wiki doesn't exist. So yeah, that's the end of the video and this series. I'm sure you all know making videos like this take a lot of time and effort, so I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and enabled notifications. Also, smashing that like button lets me know that you want to see more Stardew content. Who knows, maybe I'll look into speedrunning, or do a modded playthrough with Stardew Expanded, or something like that. I'm open to anything. And like I said previously, if you want to see any other Stardew content from me specifically, like a farm tour, tutorial, tier list, tips and tricks, or whatever, leave a comment and I'll try to make it happen. If you want to get more involved in my community, please follow me on Twitter and Twitch. Those links are in the description below. A link to join my personal Discord server is also in the description. If you love Stardew Valley, I'm sure you'll love it over there. Everyone is super nice and welcoming, and we'd love to have you. And with that, I want to thank you again for watching and making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully, I'll see you in my next one.